Let's start talking about the evolution of your music. So we'll kind of work with the earliest recordings you have. Explain how you came into it, the influences that were shaping it primarily.
When I first started producing music, it was on a 4-track, and I was producing acoustic stuff, just on a 4-track, you know, doing the bass drum with my throat and kind of just multi-tracking everything out. Kind of the sound that I was going for would be kind of this style. It's a down home, slide guitar, acoustic guitar.
So where did this come from?
This is just a song, it's called Weary Branches, and it's just, this is actually not one of my earlier recordings, but I'd say it's an earlier style of mine. This came from one of the hottest days ever I can remember. And, yeah, it's just a story about dying and living in the heat of life. But that was kind of the early days. Took the Tao Te Ching and kind of, you know, took some words out of the Tao Te Ching and rearranged them into the lyrics of the song. So it's a whole kind of Tao thing. I call it falling Tao. But it's got this Celtic sort of overtones to it. I don't know, Taoist Celt and banjo and I don't know. Bluegrass, I don't know what it is.
If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving.
Scene is kind of born of the West Coast, the I-5 corridor from, you know, basically from Vancouver to Los Angeles, maybe San Diego. And just sort of, there's kind of one community that kind of gypsy type people that is kind of moving back and forth and been a part of this growing electronic music scene that I think had its roots sonically in a lot of the sounds that were coming out of the European electronic music scene that kind of was transplanted to the San Francisco area, mixed with, so it's kind of a mixture of psytrance and house and all the basic electronic genres, as well as on the West Coast with hip hop and the other down-tempo type movements that happen here, and kind of created a really unique scene. I think in a lot of ways for our generation, it's sort of supplanted the athletics of days to be gone, where people were mostly, like where I'm from, were mostly into like football and things like that. We would all go to these sports events, and now it's music events. It feels like it's a youth movement going on around the world that's based on freedom of expression and a desire for democracy and peace. It's an amazing scene to be a part of because it really feels safe for people to express themselves and be whoever they want to be. It also creates an environment where artists of all kinds can show their artwork, whether it be visual art or sculpture or fire, dancing, all different types of arts are represented. And so it's really more than just the music. It's a movement, it's a culture, it's a society. In the last couple of years been part of seeing this new growth, a new blossom, and this new era of our scene, which is sort of taken off internationally. And I see how there's, I just went to Australia and played the Eclipse Festival, and there's this whole stage dedicated almost exclusively to our scene and our music. And here we are going to Egypt, and so it's definitely been amazing, and we'll see where it goes from here. I draw my influences from everything that I hear in my life, and so I definitely am really drawn into like good beats. And for me, good beats are like usually like slower down tempo or hip hop beats and stuff, and I was really inspired by the beats back in the 90s of the scratching and the whole DJ Shadow and all that, like those types of beats mixed with deep bass lines. And then I think that really the similarities to everything else going on in our scene maybe ends there, and I like to go off and just do lots of melody, harmonies, lush layers, and I really like music that doesn't really, it may challenge you intellectually, but it doesn't challenge your ears. Like it can go in, you can let it in and trust that it's going to be okay to let this music in, and that's what I like to feel like this music is like directly accessible, and there's no kind of intellectual challenge or hurdles to get to the music. It's just right there, and then whatever process you have happens within the music. So I guess on a more functional level, it's just, I like to see my music being appreciated by people of different generations and different cultures, and you don't need to go into this music having to know something. It's just like accessible to everyone. The whole performance thing is a really tricky area because I think that people are used to rock and roll and orchestras and things where it's like you go to a show to see a live instrumentalist virtuoso play their instrument, and it's awesome, and it will always be awesome. I think what these producers are doing is really like the goal with this is to spend time in the studio and crafting these tracks. And to me, the difference, songs are like a song exists. Like I can play a song, you can play a song, we can all play the same song. There's a Bob Dylan song, there's a Jimi Hendrix song, and we all play these songs. And these are a track is something that you actually construct. It's like a painting, And so when I go to play a show, what I feel like I'm standing up there and showing my painting that I've been working on for a month. Like, here's my painting, and then they make it big and loud. And people aren't expecting me to make that painting live. Like when you go to the museum and see paintings, you're not expecting the artist to be there making it right in front of your face from start to finish. That's not really your expectation. What you're doing is just you want to appreciate this work of art. So it's a lot of times what I feel like I'm doing is just presenting my work in an amplified sound system to a group of people. And if they want to dance, if they want to, they can. It's just like, that's the show. It's the people are the show. It's just like you're there to experience the music. Like it always feels like for me, it's like one moment, these sets, whether there's thousands of people or two people, it's like one singular moment that I just keep going back to when I play these live shows. It's like entering this world of like this music and just letting it happen and try not to be too caught up in the surroundings of how successful I'm being or what's next, to be present with what's going on.
me your honest opinion out there. Does it sound okay, or is it just, yeah, turn it up, right? That's what I keep saying. I don't know what, if it's, it just seems like his drums are louder than my music. I'm not sure if there's something wrong. It's fine. You're telling me it's fine. It's good? Okay. Just making sure.
I have a story about the riddle, but I don't know really if I should tell the whole thing or not, because it's kind of someone, you know, it involves the death of someone. It's just weird, you know.
Well, just go for it.
I'll tell the story, but we should really think about talking about. I don't know, so I'll just tell the story. So my girlfriend at the time, when I made the riddle, before I made the riddle, she said she lived in this mountain house up in Oregon in the snow, and invited me to come up there and work on some music. And I went up there, and there was this room that had in top of this barn that I was like, this is a great room, but it was full of stuff. And then one of the relatives of the family said I could use the room. And so we cleared out all the stuff, and this room hadn't been used since, I don't know, the 70s, and there was all this stuff in there, and it was just like this, you know, it was on top of a barn, wood, just crap everywhere. We would load out all this stuff, and I set up my music studio in this barn, and turn on my space heaters, and then start making the riddle, you know, making the beats for it. And then I noticed that these flies started coming out of the walls, like little, it was middle of winter, so it was like, they were kind of like these stunned flies were kind of coming out of the cracks. And I was like, what the hell, these flies? They couldn't really fly, or if they tried, they kind of crashed into stuff. And, you know, and then more and more and more and more flies started coming out of the walls until it was like this like oozing river of flies. And so I got this like hippie mint stuff and started spraying it in the cracks, which only pissed them off. And more and more. And I had this dog with me the whole time, Maya, and Maya was barking and howling. She's actually in the recording in the beginning because she wouldn't shut up. There's the dog barking at the flies. I got derelict fate, coming on strong, laying down the river, holding me down, whistling death, holding my breath, here until the sun has burned my cheeks. We ain't got no time, so let yourself go. And actually, if you listen closely, that's my I recorded the flies right there. And that's what the whole room sounded like. So, yeah. And so I'm looking at the walls, and it's like this orifice of flies oozing out of every wall. Meanwhile, my girlfriend is like, she's seeing, she's like, I saw this young girl in the laundry room, you know, like some sort of spirit or something. So she's freaking out. I got flies, dog's barking. So I go grab these fly strips, and I had 18 fly strips hanging up all around this room. Each one was completely filled with flies, and they were oozing off of, and underneath each fly strip was a pile of flies like this big, full of goo, you know? And it was just like, it was insane. So after a while, the flies, I guess they'd been like hibernating in the walls or something, and the space heater had woken them up. So and then I took all these flies. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. They're in my computer, they're in all my stuff. Start throwing them out the window onto the roof of this place, and then all these birds just came out of this, and there's just like all these birds coming down, they're eating all these flies, you know? And it was just like, what the hell is going on here? So, so anyway, finally get rid of the flies and the birds. I'm like, okay, back to making the song. And there were a couple other hang-ups. I remember the power was an issue, whatever. So I made this song, The Riddle, and then it was totally like groundbreaking, a song, you know, this whole topic of death came up for me. So the owners of the house come home, and they're upset that I was using this room because they had a daughter who was hit by a car when she was really young, and they brought her up to that room, and she died in that room. And the sister didn't really have any attachment to that room, and she had given me permission, but the parents were not cool with it. So that added the kind of some sense of understanding to what we were doing. And a girlfriend at the time, she was freaking out because she swore that that's who she saw in the laundry room. It was pretty, one of the weirdest, most really sobering things. I don't even know how to explain what happened, but it was strange. And I felt like we all kind of were touching something, you know. I don't know what that was, but I guess that's the riddle for me. You know, I used to have a bunch of cryptic explanations for that song that I would give people. Usually starting with, oh, it's about death and that's it, or something. But you know, it's a fucking riddle, man. I don't even know what that song is about, because those lyrics came to me in such a way that were sort of, my pen started writing and those were the words and I didn't know what it meant, and then the meaning has changed over the years for me constantly. And also I see how other people have interpreted that song and come to me with their explanation, what they think the song is about. And usually what other people think is completely different than what I thought when I was making it, but I like everybody else's explanations better, you know? I think that like the darkness that I felt making that song was to bring out the light, and the light is what remains. So whatever intention I had going into making that song has sort of been erased, and now it's become this new thing. I think I feel that way about all my music now. It's just like it's its own thing, and it's not really about anything. It just is itself. And for me to even try to explain it would kind of, I couldn't explain what it's about more. I can clarify what the lyrics are, but I can't really, I don't know what it's about, because it just is. As a performer, you kind of have this, you're like, okay, you kind of have this like in the back of your head, like, when is my career going to peak? And when does it sort of hit a decline? And when do I have to start thinking about quitting the one thing I love to get a job? Maybe one day it's all going to just stop and no one's going to like me anymore, and I'm going to have to do something else. And so there's kind of this fear that comes up sometimes where you're like, oh, you know, no one's here. Is this the moment? Is this the peak? Have I already peaked? You know, am I done? You know? Usually those thoughts are just so self-created and not true, but it's kind of real. Yeah, I think it just kind of, you want people to be there all the time, you know, if you're a performer, and they're not always there, so you just got to deal with it, you know. But if you keep doing what you love and do something amazing, they'll come eventually. When I went to Orcas Island and started this album was right after my son was born. And then I knew that I was having this kind of hard time connecting with my music after Arose, like, or making new music in a way, like fully. And so I knew that I needed to really get away. So that was when, I think about the time I quit my job and we went up to Orcas Island for 6 weeks. And I locked myself in this cabin in the middle of nowhere on this island in the middle of winter to start the process of Visurreal. And water sort of became the theme of Visurreal. It was just everything was kind of going back to the water, about the ocean and the source. So it started in Orcas Island, where it's one of the quietest places on the planet, for sure, especially at night in the winter. There is not a sound. So that was kind of how this album was born. And this album, I felt like I was finally in a position where I was comfortable with myself as an artist, comfortable with where I was at, and really happy with my last album and ready to just go deeper into what I was doing. Rather than trying to prove myself or prove anything to anyone, I was just like, let's just go deeper into the sound. So that's where it started, and been co-writing a lot now with Cedar, the percussionist. I had some drums from Tommy, and then Ilya came in, did violin. So each song is its own world, rather than the album being one sound. Like each song is its own sound. As a musician, and when you're traveling around the world and doing all these shows and partying all the time, and all of a sudden you have a kid, you have a choice to like either step up and be a man and be a dad, or just let it all fall to the wayside. And I chose to, I wanted to be a father. I wanted to take this on fully. So you have to kind of you have to center yourself and start taking your art more seriously, and for a career and partying less and whatnot. But it's challenging because here you've built your life on going to parties and doing all this, having fun with people all the time and just being free and traveling, and then all of a sudden when you have this kid, you're like, well, how do I balance this out? I mean, is there a way to even do it? And I was just so distraught in a way, creatively. I'm like, how do I be a musician and still have a kid and all this? So I had all this pent up feelings that were kind of like congestion in creative constipation or something. And the song Apparently was one that I wrote on Orcas with Katie Gray, was the one that really, the mantra, the chorus that comes up is that I'll be letting go now. And that was really, I was saying that to myself, truly. And I just was letting go of all my expectations, all of the congestion and everything, and really like wanting to be free and opening myself to be free and letting myself be free. So I remember singing this over and over and looking at the ocean and just, I'll be letting go now. And I remember just like wanting that to happen and doing it and letting go. So this is where the album began, was with this song, truly, letting go.
I'll be letting go now. 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 I'll be letting
Well, my first Burning Man, you know, you show up in your little 2-person tent and with nothing, not knowing anything, and get kind of ripped open and raw. And so I mean, definitely the first couple of days I was there, I'm like, I don't get it. I'm not. Why am I here out in the desert punishing myself? And then I think it started seeing like, wait a minute, people are like, this is totally amazing. People are making incredible things. There's amazing people here. We're making beautiful music, and I was just, I just want to play here, you know. And I think I actually did play that first year, but it wasn't. Some crazy lady tried to attack our generator with a crowbar, and it was a pretty gnarly scene. I think I had like 3 people in the audience, and you know, basically got booed off stage by the neighbors who wanted to sleep. And it just, since then, it's just been like this snowballing effect. All the same kind of crew, different people, changing names, changing leaders, you know, but it's a lot of the growing, changing, amorphous sort of thing that all these different communities now are coming out there and working their ass off to show everybody a good time. I think Burning Man is where these little pockets, these little scenes that were happening all around the country finally realized that there were other people just like them. And Burning Man was kind of like, our first Burning Man was like, holy shit, there's people from all over the country that are doing kind of what we're doing in their own way. And we're all friends now, you know. It's just like, it was this amazing kind of a reunion that had never happened before. You know, people like familiarity with everyone. So Burning Man was a huge factor for all of that, and still is. It's the ultimate convergence. So the differences between my Eclipse set at Symbiosis here in the States and the Eclipse in Australia were huge. People know who I am here in the States, and I had a really big audience, and I also had a huge crew of people performing with me on stage, and it was like this massive show of tear-jerking, awesome moments. Thousands of people, epic. Australia, probably, from my perspective, looking out at the audience, probably about 10 people. So I'm looking around, there's only like 10 people. It's like, I'm like, fuck man, like no one's here. I traveled around the world for this. And then I walked out and behind the stage were thousands of people that were listening to my music. They were like preparing to watch this eclipse, you know. And I was like, oh, like actually, I have been performing for thousands of people, maybe even more people than were at Symbiosis, but I didn't even know. And I let my ego get to me, and I let it break me down in a way. It was incredibly humbling experience to kind of like have all these expectations of it being like, oh, here's another eclipse, you know, I got this epic set right before the eclipse, it's just gonna be a perfect alignment, and then I'm like, and I definitely had to face my ego in a way, you know. I think it's just because I had expectations, you know, and I try not to have, you tell yourself, I'm not gonna have expectations, you know, but you do. And when the moment comes, I think, you know, it's easier to deal with 10 people in a bar than it is at a festival, you know, but it was probably one of the best things that possibly could have happened in that moment. So, and it really taught me a lesson about, once again, about having expectations, and also reminded me that one of the greatest things about being a musician or any kind of artist is that it will humble you. No matter what, you will be humbled eventually. If you keep doing it, every time you perform, there moments will humble you, or greater, you know, it's just this amazing thing.
Are you getting balls yet? Little balls. You're making little balls. So I'm getting little balls wrapped.
That is so crazy. That's it. There we go.
But I know in time. Then I pause and kiss myself. Drink the beer, come down my friend. Do you return
Craziest thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
It's darker than everything.
Forget about it. Wow.
I never would have in a million years imagined that my music would somehow be presented at the Great Pyramids, you know, the last of the 7 wonders of the world. So getting this music to the pyramids is a way, it's like the great transmitter through the cosmos or something. Like I feel like it's just such an honor to play there, but to be able to have this opportunity to it's almost as if this is the turning point where I'm like, now I can face the world, and I'm ready to take this music to the world. So that this is kind of the ultimate destination for the next chapter. It's December 2012. We're in the midst of a revolution in Egypt. It's an unstable environment to be walking into and trying to throw an event like this. The alternative is we can send ambassadors from our government who I don't feel represent us. We can send a military force which doesn't represent us, and I know it doesn't represent me. I know anytime we send a bomb to the Middle East, I'm not saying we should go send that bomb. What do I have the power to do? I have the power to bring our music to these people, and this is the greatest gift that I have to offer. This is who I am, and it's the most peaceful offering we could possibly bring. Music, you know, and it also is what will connect us to the people in a way that maybe they haven't seen before or haven't heard before, and they can understand our culture and our society and see a side of America that they don't get to see in their media, which probably skews what America is just as much as our media skews what we think Egypt is right now. Well, there's a bunch of musicians performing at the Giza Pyramids on the solstice of this year, 2012. It's an event produced by the Do Lab, and there's a lot of artists that are going to be going out to share our experiences together and put on a great show and see what happens. This event is called the Great Convergence, and the idea is that we all are converging on the pyramids on this date, which is has a lot of significance to a lot of people. And so yeah, this is kind of a way for us all to come together and share our message of positivity with the world.
I'm editing the ohms, different chants that were going on in the King's Chamber. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, hello everyone. Good evening, Egypt. I'm going to start off with a little chant that we recorded inside the King's Chamber in Rica.
I think I did. What happened?
I'll tell you over here.
Yeah, I think I know what happened.
Doesn't he make?
I think I know what this is about. It's because you mentioned.
Because I mentioned the Ohm, and they went and took all the statues.
They went.
The police came and took all the statues because I said the Ohm thing, right?
They took the statues. I don't understand.
Every statue. We had like 30 statues in here.
Yeah.
All of the statues have been taken out by the Egyptian police, and they feel like Rab wasn't playing music. He was playing meditation.
It was too spiritual. I guess.
Spiritual. Yeah. At the beginning of his set, everyone was all like, me included. And
then that was the impetus to take the statues.
I just had a long chat. So I just unfortunately had to cancel a nice spoken word piece before Beats Antique because that would get us shut down. They're feeling a little sensitive right now.
So yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah. So I'm like, don't say no more.
Thanks.
Yeah. That's kind of the way this journey has gone.
Yeah.
We've navigated it.
You have no idea these boundaries.
But every statue we had, they brought them all back here, and that wasn't good enough, so they took them all out.
Wow.
Yeah. So, who knows? I mean, we knew kind of, but we didn't know the severity of it.
Yeah.
Normally we get to a function like this and everyone's feeling really good in
Yeah.
spirit, and they're like, oh yeah, and they let things go. These guys they're tight.
Well, they want me to like ghetto rap or something, like.
Yeah, I was like, we're gonna get louder and crazier next.
Promise. Promise.
I was like, we're gonna get louder and crazier, and they were like, okay, good. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man.
You're kidding, right?
No. I'm not kidding about a thing.
Turn around this way. I need to get light on your face when you say that.
That conversation was for real. I was like, we're gonna get louder, and it's gonna get more dancey after this, and they were like, better. I was like, no one ever wants to kick Rab off the stage.
The Egyptian police almost.
Oh. But no, really, Tommy and David just wanted to have a spoken word piece before they went on, and I was like, there's no way. So.
See, let me. So it goes.
Here we are, Egypt, 2012. 2012. Nice job, Rab. Thanks, man.
Nice work, brother.
How's everybody tonight?
Well, I don't know. That was interesting.
That was very interesting.
It's probably the strangest thing that's ever happened to me during a set, I have to admit. Huh. Okay. Well, it's too spiritual for the Egyptian police.
So that first sound, here, let's rewind it. That's a human femur that was hollowed out. It's ancient human femur that she blows like a horn. So it's one of the coolest sounds ever. So all these beats and everything were made after post-production. She had come in and just sang the song a cappella, and I did some pitch correction on it, Melodyne. This song was also, I remember this song particularly because after I made this song and listened to it, I cried my eyes out. I had never done that before, listening to a song, especially one of my own songs. I was just I wasn't really sad. I was just like, what is this feeling of crying? Like, where does this come from? I've never experienced that before, and I was really intrigued by that feeling. I'm like, what? I wanted that more. That was like a huge moment for me of like figuring out like, wow, I want that. I don't know why I wanted it. I think I was like discovering sorrow kind of for the first time and in a real visceral level. And the type of crying that I'm talking about isn't a sad cry, like, or crying for like someone died, you're like crying. It's not like that kind. It's more like a liberation. I know I'm not the only one. I've had a lot of people share with me the same experience that they've had with like this song or other songs that are like it. And there's a certain, I don't know what, but it's like tapping into the direct source of sorrow, addressing it, feeling it viscerally. The physical act of crying gets you in touch with the sorrow of all life and of all humanity. So I think that there's something really fascinating about being in that place, because once you're there, you're also experiencing this sense of joy that's just like so amazing. So it's like they both kind of, the deeper you go into sorrow, you're kind of like going in a circle, joy's here, sorrow's here, and they just kind of meet right there. And you're kind of like, you can choose the path of sorrow or joy, but you get to the same spot at the bottom, the core, you know. It's like there is this grand story that's being unveiled to me through my own music that and I'm using my music as a tool to get deeper into it. So it's kind of like this relationship that I have with my own music where it's like I'm creating it, but it's creating something for me to look into, and the only way to look deeper is to make more. So it's a cyclical relationship. This is sort of an emancipation. You know, I got sovereignty with my kind. You know, I really was saying, hey, it's like I got sovereignty with my kind. I think I was saying it more in an abstract way at the time, but I think that it has sort of brought me people who relate to that, and like they're like, how, you know, we are all one. We are with our kind. You know, whether that kind is humanity or life or your own culture or whatever it is. You know, we all feel that sense of oneness with our kind. So I'm not sure how I got from A to B, but that's where I am now.